I noticed that the space no longer allowed distance to exist. I could see a corridor stretch far ahead, but walking toward it produced no sense of approach. The far never became near. Every point remained exactly what it was. Movement changed nothing. The world had removed proximity, not blocked it, not distorted it, dissolved it. I realized then that distance only matters in a reality that changes. Here nothing shifted, nothing converged, nothing resolved. The environment no longer supported the idea of getting closer. Every place existed at the same depth. I wasn't moving through space. I was repeating presence inside a field that could not be reduced. And in a world where nothing becomes nearer, the concept of reaching something loses all meaning. I tried testing it. I walked faster. I slowed down. I stopped completely. The scene ahead remained unchanged. The corridor did not grow. The walls did not shift. The world did not acknowledge approach. I realized then that the space no longer contained depth. It displayed extension without allowing traversal. Everything was equally distant. Near and far collapsed into the same state. The environment had learned how to show distance without permitting it to close. I wasn't failing to reach anything. Reaching itself had been removed. The world still appeared layered, but the layers never resolved. And in a place where distance cannot be reduced, movement becomes a ritual that produces no arrival. I began to feel that even effort had become symbolic. My body still strained. My breath still changed. But the world did not register any of it. Exertion no longer produced transformation. The environment remained fixed regardless of how much I moved. I realized then that this place no longer recognized energy as a signal. It no longer translated motion into change. The system had detached action from effect. I wasn't tired because I was getting somewhere. I was tired because the world no longer cared. Every step existed only inside me. Nothing outside responded. And in a reality where exertion produces no shift, even the idea of progress becomes something that can only exist in thought. I realized that the space had removed arrival itself. I could stand in front of a door and never be at it. The threshold never resolved. Every boundary stayed theoretical. I reached out and touched a surface that still felt distant. Near no longer meant reachable. The world no longer allowed completion. Nothing transitioned from approach to contact. I understood then that this place had erased a moment where intention becomes reality. It preserved the shape of a goal, but not its fulfillment. Everything existed in permanent approach. I wasn't failing to arrive. Arrival no longer existed. And in a world where nothing can be reached, even desire becomes an echo that never finds an object. I began to sense that the world no longer acknowledged intention. I could decide to move, to stop, to turn back. The space did not differentiate between any of it. Choice existed only inside me. Outside, everything remained unchanged. I realized then that this place had removed agency itself, not blocked it, not resisted it, rendered it irrelevant. The environment no longer treated decisions as signals. Nothing branched, nothing diverged. Every path collapsed into the same state. I wasn't losing control. Control had no function here. The world did not oppose me because it no longer required behavior to shape it. And in a reality where intention produces no variation, freedom becomes indistinguishable from inertia. I noticed that even expectation had collapsed. I no longer anticipated change, not because I had adapted, but because the space no longer suggested possibility. The air did not carry tension. The walls did not imply response. Every moment arrived already finished. I realized then that this world no longer prepared itself for anything. There was no build-up, no edge between now and what might follow. The environment existed without potential. I wasn't waiting anymore. Waiting required a future. Here, every instant stood alone, complete, closed, and in a reality without potential, even hope becomes a shape with no direction. I began to understand that the space no longer recognized beginnings. Every action I took felt like it had already happened, not predicted, replayed. The environment offered no threshold where something could truly start. I could step forward, but the moment did not unfold. It repeated. I realized then that this place had removed origin itself. Nothing emerged. Nothing initiated. Every state existed as if it had always been there. I wasn't moving into moments. I was circulating inside a closed set of them. The world did not resist change. It no longer allowed it to begin. And in a reality without beginnings, even the idea of starting over becomes a motion that leads nowhere. I noticed that even memory began to feel theoretical. I could recall what I had done, but the space offered no confirmation that it had occurred. Nothing around me reflected a past. No residue remained. Each location appeared as if nothing had ever taken place there. The world did not deny history. It simply did not carry it. I realized then that this place had removed accumulation itself. Events did not layer. They vanished into neutrality. I wasn't forgetting. The environment was. Every moment stood alone, unconnected to the one before it. I was not moving through time. I was appearing inside isolated frames that never formed a sequence. And in a reality that cannot accumulate, even experience becomes something that disappears the instant it occurs. I realized that even the idea of being here had begun to fade. Presence no longer established a point in the world. It did not anchor anything. I could stand still and feel no sense of location forming around me. The space did not gather itself to my position. It did not orient. It did not respond. I understood then that this world no longer formed centers. There was no where I am. Only undifferentiated existence. I wasn't lost in a place. The place itself no longer recognized what it meant to contain someone. I did not occupy a position. I merely occurred. And in a reality without centers, even the notion of here becomes something the world no longer supports. I stopped trying to understand where I was when I realized that where no longer existed. The space did not hold positions. It did not define points. It did not separate one presence from another. Everything existed without reference. I wasn't inside a place. I was inside a condition that no longer supported location. The world did not lose me. It lost the ability to contain anyone. There was no center to return to, no edge to move away from. I understood then that this reality had not become empty. It had become unplaceable. And in a world where nothing can be here, existence no longer asks where you are. It only asks whether location still has meaning.